How about you, Michelle?
Yes.
We'll have a double duty recording.
I don't have power.
You don't need to start, right, Michelle? Let's start with this statement.
Yeah.
All right, good morning, everyone. Today is January 9th, 2025. This is a hybrid meeting of the Design Review Committee. I don't think I have to go through the calling everybody's names because we're here in person.
Right.
So the public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. There's no public participation today. So welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to be wrapping up the design bylaws. That'll be going to the planning board at their next meeting. Last meeting, we got through definitions, majority of the definitions. I myself read them over last night, and there was just one question I had with gasoline fuel canopy sign. It says a permanent sign consisting of letters and or a logo, and it says on the surrounding the covering structure. I was wondering if it would make sense to say on the canopy. Like,
Yeah, it does.
when I first read, I'm like surrounding the covering
Yeah.
structure. Yeah, if we could just change it to say a permanent sign consisting of letters and or a logo on the canopy. Over the gasoline, fuel and or EV pumps. So that was only a minor thing, if everybody's okay with that.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we got through definitions. The window wrap I had in my notes, we're gonna work on a bit. We have window wrap as a film applied to the window, creating a custom design pattern or color. I myself, when I was reading it last night, I was wondering if we write a window wrap is not a sign, because that's what, I don't want people to be confused, like between what's the vinyl like sign that people can stick on a window versus a window wrap. Is it a film? Cause it's a film too that we can stick on as a window sign, so would a window wrap be a film that covers the whole window? Because it does usually, or it doesn't, I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
I think it does cover the whole window. It could fall under decals as well, though, because it's the same kind of an application. It's just maybe a different medium, right, Bob? Because 3M company is what created the window wraps, but they adhere from the back to the back of the window, either by electricity. What do you call that?
Static.
Static, yeah. By static normally, and then you just take it down.
Amy, the example you had previously shown me on the picture did have a sign as part of the window wrap.
Yeah, I was gonna go to that too, but like, if it does have a sign on it, it should be like 10%, so like you could have a whole scene of like an outdoor mountain. And then it says Easter Mountain Sports, but it isn't like pictures of work boots all over it, or we sell our hiking poles, it's just. It's kind of like our window sign is 10% of the window. Maybe the window wrap can have 10% of the window, but it can include the.
But I don't think we should say that it's not a sign, because it may have a sign as part of the window wrap.
We could say a window wrap may include a sign on 10%, just like the windows do.
I think that would be okay.
So right now we have a film that is applied to a window. Do we say that covers a whole window, or do they not always?
Although I would put that in a different section, we wouldn't put it under definitions, we would put that under maybe a non-conformity and compliance section.
Or more under, no, probably more under the basic requirements.
Might be a good idea to, think there's a distinction between the sign that is, or a decal that's put on the exterior surface of glass versus the interior surface of glass.
I don't know what the difference is. Like,
Well, the sign is applied to the outside of the glass.
yeah,
Versus a sign that's facing the outside, but it's actually installed on the interior of the glass facing out. restriction back somewhere.
Yeah, there was a note written at one of the bottoms, one of the markups.
And that's the one where you said you had crossed out something in red, but that's at the very bottom.
Yeah, but she crossed off the window or door versus the inside or outside. And I don't think we should, I mean, I don't know why we would prohibit it from being on the outside. I don't know why anybody would want to do it, but unless, you know, except for bird strikes, that's the only thing, those bird decals.
Okay, I'll have to find that again and when we go through this, hopefully it's on this sheet.
I did read that you have window painting on the inside. So there's a difference there.
Yeah, it was the same area.
I wonder if we should put that window wrap may include a sign on 10% of the window under number 17, which is where we talk about window wraps may cover the whole window but cannot advertise products, which I still have a problem with.
Well, I think no sign is supposed to advertise products, it's supposed to just advertise the store, like even Richdale should say, or any convenience store should say, you know, convenience store, but it shouldn't say Coke, Pepsi.
Well,
According
we
to-
have an example, and that's why I brought it up. So we have an example in our design guidelines where it says antiques. It says gifts, right here, this one.
Right.
So that could be a window wrap, I'm not sure.
But I
But
think,
in this yellow banding, it says, you know, what they sell. It's of course, it's so small here, I need glasses. But it says gifts, repairs maybe. So,
So if you put a store with a storefront like that,
and this says coffee. So we're advertising, you know, the product that they're selling.
but our basic requirements, number one says that you can't.
it's,
I know, but I
It's a
don't think we
brand.
should prohibit that.
and you're trying to prohibit the brand sign?
No, it's the way I read number one for basic requirements that we have in our current bylaw. Is only signs allowed in the town of Northborough, and this has been since the beginning of the sign bylaw. Are signs that advertise, call attention, or indicate the person occupying the premises. So like say it's Amy Bertsky Architecture. On the sign which is erected or maintained, or the business transacted thereon, which it's a convenience store, a funeral home.
So there would still be like gifts or coffee.
Or that advertise the property itself for sale or rent, but contain no other matter. Like,
Or any part thereof,
Basically.
it says, or that advertise the property itself or any part thereof.
or the business transacted thereon. The business transacted is what you're doing inside, it's not all the products. Like, I don't think signs are supposed to have,
Yeah, but like here we're prohibiting any, like I know when I go past a store, I want to know what type of store it is, I don't wanna just walk in. If it's not clear from the sign, then it would be nice to know what type of store it is. Like
Isn't that-
maybe they don't have big windows, like if I'm looking for a clothing store, I don't wanna go into a gift store. So I don't think we should prohibit
Well,
that.
here's the thing, does this apply to all districts?
well, this basic
Yes.
requirement does, but this is
Okay.
already what's already in there.
Okay, so then how can we allow Lexus and Toyota and Honda to have their logos on their signs?
Isn't that their company though? Lexus is a sign, like the class I went to,
Because
No,
that's
the logo of the
Northborough,
brand.
it's Northborough Lexus, but it says Lexus.
I would think that like Coca-Cola, like if you made Coca-Cola, your sign would be Coca-Cola.
Yeah, but you're not making Lexuses.
Yeah.
But they're, yeah, I don't know.
Lexus is probably a bad example because it is in their name also, but if it wasn't, you know,
Herb Chambers Honda.
yeah.
It's
I don't
not-
know, it was a class I was at,
Well,
they said you don't want every single product, but if Coca-Cola is what they make, then that's what you can have
Well,
on the,
Well, like Sunoco though, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the brand of the stuff they sell.
Mhm.
I don't know the name of that station though, it's not Sunoco, it's, you know, like WCD or something like that, next to WCD, but they have a different name, with the owner's name, they probably.
In Malden, there's a store called Charles Rowe, R.O. He is the nation's largest dealer of Lionel trains. What are his signs on the front windows?
Really trying.
He's internationally known,
Right,
okay? Otherwise, it would just look like another pawn shop,
right.
okay? That's his stock and trade. Okay, so if we had a company come here, and that's all they sold, would that be allowed?
I was trying to go by what I was reading. And what I was told.
Go by what has to be enforced and what's gonna be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You know,
why
if
you
you're
stay
gonna-
around too.
But for like something like CVS that sells beauty products, like, or pharmacy, should it have a window that lists everything inside or?
Well, most aren't gonna do it, but some may want to list some of their products, like, you know, for hair salons. I've seen them list the various services that they provide, and the same for like, spas. So they do waxing, they do, massage, they do, whatever.
But they
I
can
think
have
that's
it.
helpful though, I mean, because people don't wanna waste their time going into places that don't offer the service that they're interested in.
But if you're something like a liquor store, convenience store, you know that. Like, you don't have to have every single Budweiser Coors.
But remember that this regulation is for everybody.
Right,
And so maybe you're trying to prohibit that for liquor stores, but negatively impacting these little mom and pop shops who, you know, maybe they don't have windows, so they don't have giant windows where people can look in and see what they're doing.
I was just reading how I was reading it, we didn't change anything that was calling it out, did we? Change anything?
The things I'm looking at, in terms of like enforcement, you know, if you go to the deli, say you go to. The deli, what's the name of the deli down on the?
Tazo?
No,
Lowe's Market?
thank you. I can never remember, anyway, sorry, Tom. You know, you walk into Lowe's and they serve, or said,
Yep.
cold cuts. They put that sticker on the door, now it's illegal.
Well, I thought it always was. I'm not saying, I don't think we
But
changed
are we
anything.
really gonna go chasing that?
Well, I don't think
Really?
so. I never have.
Nothing worse than going into a restaurant to find out they don't have gears.
To me, like the convenience stores, like the way someone explained it to me is a lot of times it's the guys working the store, doesn't own the store. He gets, you know, materials from advertiser like Board said, and they say, okay, let's just stick that up. They don't know bylaws or
They don't
anything.
know anything about
But if you went to them and said, you know what, I'm not saying you have to, and this is just a discussion. But if you went to like Richdale and said, you know, could you take off some of this stuff? Cause we only, then maybe they'd be like, oh, okay, I don't know.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it's.
If we're already limiting the area within which you can advertise, then they should be able to advertise whatever
Yeah,
they think
use
is
that
most
space however
important.
it makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine, but I don't
So-
think anything we're here changes that, right?
Well, the window wraps,
Okay,
it says, hey, you cannot advertise products contained inside the store, which I don't agree with.
Are we working on definitions right now?
We're on number 17.
we were on window wrap, which is connected to D17. Like
Right.
window wrap's the definition, and then D17 is the regulation that goes with it.
So that was the part about going inside or outside, that's where
Oh,
that came from, it was at the bottom of your previous.
Yeah, and I don't even know what 2 is, but we'll go back to that.
Okay.
So can we
Thank
get
you.
rid of that?
Let me just clear up what we're doing here. So we're not working on definitions anymore because we've made the definitions. Is it correct? Or are we working on definitions?
We were finishing the definition, but I don't know if it's finalized. We're going to see, we were deciding whether certain items get added to the definition window wrap or they're included under D17, which is the basic requirements of the window wrap.
Okay, so I I assume that window wrap, we've decided what it is. Now we're working on the number 17.
Yeah, and then, but if we didn't know if the 10% should be included as part of the definition or under 17.
I don't think it should be included as part of the definition because the definition by right is just to describe what the sign is. Is that not correct?
Right, and the definition we have right now that we're trying to say, a film that is applied to a window to create a custom design pattern or color. And I said a window wrap is not a sign, but then we said, well, maybe that shouldn't be there.
If it's not a sign, it wouldn't be in the definitions because this
So
is
we'll
not-
leave window wrap to a film that is applied to a window to create a custom design pattern or color.
yes.
Sounds good to me.
Everybody's okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Definition as simple as possible, right? I mean, and then you decide. You talked about inside or outside. Normally, they're on the inside. Because when you're washing and stuff like that, you wash the outside with a squeegee. Usually, if you've got a film on the outside, the squeegee has a tendency to do something to that. And if it's on the outside, I don't think it's static. I think it would be a certain type of adhesive.
You said some are made to go on the outside, right, Bob?
and this part right here doesn't even talk about inside or outside. It says window wraps may cover the whole window, but must be a design that does not include products contained inside the store. And that's where Lori doesn't think it should include that. So that's what we're discussing.
Well, what's happening in reality, as I'll call it. If you
Yes,
get on to Bacon's, okay,
yeah,
they've got all of their windows are covered with exterior mounted skins or whatever, okay? And those are applied from the outside because there's no way to apply it from the inside because the bottle racks are right against the window.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
And they take up the entire window. And, I mean, me personally, I don't think it's really good looking, but, what are you gonna stare at the back of it? Shelving? Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, not that it's,
I think
That's their
brothers
problem, not
is the same way, the racks you see the in the window.
but, and I think the dog grooming, the dog rehab place does the same thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, they have a wrap.
they have a wrap,
Yep.
it's the whole window, I believe it's on the exterior of the window. And, how do we deal with that? Because obviously, if it's up there now, it's probably gonna be pre-existing, non-conforming.
I don't think we should care whether it's on the inside or the outside.
Well, that's my point, because I thought there was a restriction or there was a distinction somewhere in the existing code
Yeah.
that talks about interior versus
so that'd
exterior.
be,
The painting of decorative,
okay. So
What number is it?
this was your comment in one of. So that must be the page it's on.
is that 42?
So we can go to 709 and below.
Well, that doesn't. No sign of shall be pasted posted directly on the exterior, including windows and doors, okay?
Oh, here it is in the book.
Yeah, all right. Or
Does that already exist or?
This already
it
exists.
already exists. So that's what E2,
Yeah,
right here.
Yeah, I think we need to get rid of that.
So that would have to be changed.
Why don't we just delete the entire first sentence?
what page are you on, Amy?
We're in the red on the last page, page 9.
or if you have your book, it's
No.
page 7-112.
I'm on page 9. I have paper.
Okay, here's the clause that I was talking about, it goes a little further down from where we were. Basically, it's the last sentence in parenthesis 2. Notwithstanding the foregoing, signs may be painted or posted on the interior surface of any wall, including windows and doors.
So you want to take that out?
Well, it's kind of ambiguous because signs may be painted or posted on the interior surface of any wall, including windows and doors. So does that mean you're inside the building looking at the sign? Or if you're outside the building looking at the sign? Okay, like reverse painted glass on storefront, that sort of thing? Or is it, that's,
Yeah,
I'm probably splitting hairs, but it's a distinction.
right. Yeah, and I don't know what they meant when they wrote it.
Right.
Originally,
Right, and I know you guys are really trying hard to,
right,
make it clear,
yes,
in terms of what they expect, and also from my selfish standpoint, I need to do.
right. The. I'm trying to think of what we do to fix, so we're all on the same page.
And we're,
I'd say just delete those two sentences.
we're still on page 9, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's showing up in red in what Amy emailed out yesterday.
Yes. What I
Mine
have is,
shows up as blue, number 2. Underneath where it says from Bob, and then there's it's the second paragraph or third paragraph that says 2, no sign shall be painted.
Right at the very end of the document.
it's at the back, okay, all right.
It's red for some, blue for some.
No
Yeah.
sign.
But look.
Yeah, that is good. Mine's blue.
painted.
Do you have it? Do you see it?
I do see it. You're saying remove notwithstanding the foregoing, or are you saying the one above it as well?
The first sentence in that paragraph and the last sentence in that paragraph.
All right, hang on. Next to the surface of any wall. So when you take away no sign shall be painted or posted directly on the exterior surface of any wall, including doors and windows, if you take a building that that is deciding to paint directly on the bricks, they would be allowed to do this now, if you take that first sentence out.
No. No, if you've got a building that wanted to paint directly on the bricks, that wouldn't be allowed because all signs need to be on a substantial intermediate removable surface. And such surface shall be securely affixed to the wall. So any sign has to be somehow bolted to the wall. Okay, whether it's channel letters or a backing plate where the sign is on it or something like that. You cannot literally paint the brick wall of the building, okay? You know how they did the mural at the Newtown Common?
Yeah.
You can't do that as a sign.
Okay,
It's an art project and all that stuff, it's perfectly fine, but if it's a sign, then it can't be applied directly to the wall. Has to be on some sort of a backer or substrate or board or.
okay, so what the first line is, if you took off including windows and doors and left no sign shall be painted or posted directly, the second sentence reinforces that by saying all signs must be painted, posted, otherwise securely affixed. So when the question comes in about that first sentence, and I'm assuming that this was what it was written before, is that correct? This was already
Yes,
okay.
this is the original bylaw.
I would suggest that parenthesis 2 reads something like this. No sign shall be painted or posted directly on the exterior surface of any wall except glazing.
Glazing?
You better write this down.
Glazing,
Painted.
glass.
Can you say that again? No
Right.
sign shall be painted, posted, or otherwise securely affixed to a wall.
I would- Wall, I
No, the first sentence in parenthesis 2
Yeah,
should read, no sign shall be painted or posted directly on the exterior surface of any wall.
Right. that should be period.
Except, instead of including, write in except windows and glazing. Because glazing could be a plate glass, glazing could be a window in the doorway. Something like that, because you are allowing window wraps and signs and things like that on the windows.
okay,
But
that makes sense.
Yeah, but what if it's a non-functional piece of glass or a mirror or something?
That's fine, it's
That's
glazing.
glazing.
Okay, well, I wouldn't want somebody to hang a giant mirror on the outside of the building.
he makes Mark, a great point. So then you have to go back and put in a definition for glazing. Because you know what, we're talking about it, but somebody else might not know what glazing includes.
Well, it's kind of basic thing, glazing is any glass surface,
I understand that. So you could
you
just
know?
on the definitions, but you by rights, because it's something that hasn't been on the definitions before,
Yeah,
it's
it
just
wouldn't hurt,
what won't hurt putting it
Yeah.
on.
yeah.
Because people get confused. Well, what does that mean? And so if you wanted to change it that way, I think that would be good because of, as it states, the first sentence is supported by the second sentence.
Right.
So we're getting rid of the first sentence, the last sentence, we're fixing the sentence, no sign shall be painted except glazing.
So I think what he's saying is keep the first sentence, so it'll say, no sign shall be painted or posted directly on the exterior surface of any wall except glazing. And then delete the last sentence.
Right.
Notwithstanding the foregoing signs may be painted or posted to a surface. Yeah, I agree with that. Because you don't need it, right? What they do in their interior, what they do in their interior surface of a wall, is their business.
And I guess with this, when it goes forward, we don't have it fully underlined because it's not a new.
Yep.
It's not adding anything new except glazing and the crossouts.
I wonder, well, you know what an infinity mirror sign is? So, I mean, will we open the door to that? Yeah, because that's technically the back thing, it's a mirror.
I don't know if
I
you want
would
to take
think
it
that
time
Bob
travel
would-
back to the sixties.
Okay, I didn't even know what you were talking about.
I mean, I would like trust you to enforce
Yeah,
that.
we can-
I
yeah, we
can't
can-
really picture if people would do that, but who knows?
I'm one of those.
It wouldn't stay on there very long in the first windstorm. The
Yeah,
mirror would go crashing off.
Okay,
Well, if it's a mirror that faces the outside, I have an issue with it, it's
trash.
Well, yeah, I
Headlights,
suppose
you know,
it
people on
would,
there.
it would.
yeah,
Doesn't it do the same thing like a TV facing to the outside? Like if you're on the street, isn't that
Yeah.
a vision obstruction of some sort or takes your vision away from your driving? There's a name for
Yeah,
that.
I mean, that's the overriding safety thing that's in the book already. Is that anything that has to do with public safety, visibility, potential hazardous, I've got the authority to say you can't do that. So that's I think that's important to keep.
yeah.
So going back to 17,
Back to 7.
window wraps may cover the whole window. Window wrap design shall be approved by the design review committee before installation. Are we okay with that?
Yeah, but should we mention like
The 10%?
the 10%? I think so.
For advertising purposes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
window wraps, they cover the whole window, 10% may, yeah. With 10% advertising or,
So we'll just take the exact words from the window sign section.
Window wraps may cover the whole window, but must be designed to.
And again, is 10% just an arbitrary number or?
that's what we picked for the window signs.
It was 10%, right?
Fully arbitrary.
So 10% of the window may be covered with signs, so 10% of the window wrap may be covered with a sign.
Yes.
Before you move on.
Okay, back to that paragraph we were just on.
Oh.
Okay,
Are we on 17 still?
yeah, we're just finishing out. Do you want to read how it's gonna read, Lori, do you mind?
Yeah. So now I have,
Well, wait a second.
window wraps may cover the whole window. 10% of the window wrap may be covered by signs. Window wrap design shall be approved by the design review committee before installation.
Sorry, can you read it again? Read it again.
Window wraps may cover the whole window. 10% of the window wrap may be covered by signs or may include signs.
Yeah,
And then it says window wrap design shall be approved by the design review committee before installation.
Yes, I like that last sentence is good. When you say may, and again, this is wordsmithing, when you say may include signs, it is a sign. I think the word sign should be either more descriptive.
10% may include advertising?
Hmm.
You think it's like just so they don't put a sign on top of a route?
Well, including it means it's one piece. So, incorporated maybe, I mean, incorporated is one thing, corporate identity may be incorporated in it. It's pretty much the fact that you want to have your business name on the outside of the building. So if the window wrap is covering the window to do a variety of things, protect the products inside, have something that's a little bit more attractive that catches somebody's attention, except if you have a bunch of girls in bikinis on a beach. That might be Bob coming back saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, can't have that on there. That's not safe."
Unless it's under 9.
We'll see how it looks.
You definitely want to check
And
it.
actually, we should clarify, it's 10% of the total glass area on any one facade side of the building. Well, I suppose it'd be one single wrap, so. it would
Well,
be
It might be
size of
more
wrap.
than one wrap if there's 2
Well,
windows.
if you had,
So it'd be 10% of each wrap.
yeah, because whatever color, but that's a different thing. That's a layer.
if you had 10 windows
Mm-hmm,
and one is completely covered,
mm-hmm,
that's 10%.
right,
Right.
yeah,
Okay,
I think so, that's how we did it with window signs.
okay.
10% of the facade can be covered with the window sign.
Yeah, because I mean, the bigger project or bigger issues I see is that, certain stores, certain ones that sell a product that like to cover every window with every bottle they own. When does that, how does that help the public to begin with? It doesn't, I mean, we know what you do in that area. So how does that help the public if we have a wrap on every window and then put a, the logo on every window of the sign? You'd only, like you said, you only need it on one. If you have, the signage, explaining, I'm not feeling too well today, so I apologize already. In the original signage ideas, buildings look different. A lot of them had bigger windows and windows that kind of came in a little bit toward the door. So when some of the sign bylaws were put together, I think that was part of the thought process of doing that. And those were windows that people used to have displays behind them. We had this discussion. So with things changing, you don't have a lot of mannequins in your windows in a lot of spots anymore. I don't know that you have a lot of product necessarily showing. I think today's owner would use more of a banner or poster on the inside to show the product, like we see down at right next to Bank of America. So when you drive by, you see a couple of banners on the inside showing the product. I liked what Lori said when she clarified that it was already at 10% of a window. And I think if you have, excuse me, dog alarm, and I can't talk and then turn mute. So if you have two big windows, two glass windows that somebody wants to put a wrap on, that could continue. It could be mountains and they put the wrap on it. Their logo should probably be one logo on one of the windows and not both of the windows. Because as you're viewing it, it's a visual. If it's a corner and you come around the corner and there's a building that has two glass plates on one corner and the other corner, conceivably you could put it on the corner of both sides because you didn't see it from the same plane. But you're seeing
10% of all the windows, so like the overall count though, so they'd have to pick and choose where they want their 10%.
I thought it was 10% of any one wall. So if
Yeah.
you've got a corner, you've got two fields to work with.
Two walls.
So 10% of the east wall and 10% of the north wall.
Is that how our sign?
That's how I'm
What
reading.
it says is window signs are allowed in business districts only. All combined window signage shall be limited to 10% of the total glass area on any one facade side of a building.
Any one facade, yeah, so you're saying that they could do a corner.
Yeah, if they had a.
So they can do 10% on each side.
Yeah,
But even that, I mean, we almost did 20% overall, so is 10% on each facade really that much?
I think you're okay with that.
I actually came up with a pretty good graphic. But it was on the canopy signs, but it shows the different percentages of
Yeah,
the logo versus the field.
yeah,
So that kind of gives you, 10% is pretty small.
Yeah,
yeah, it is.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I'd love to be able to put that sign that you made, Mark, showing that if for definition purposes, if people needed to understand it better.
or we can put in the guidelines,
Yeah.
where we have pictures.
guidelines.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think it's great. And on the on the 10%, they were also available to put other signage out. Like we didn't
Yeah.
talk about having a blade or having a freestanding sign. They were also available to do that. So
Yeah, and a
it's
sandwich sign.
not like you're requiring them only 10%.
Yep. And the window wraps have to be approved by the design review, so like
Right.
have input. So do you think it's okay the way it is? The way Lori read it now? Do you want to read it one more time, Lori?
Window wraps may cover the whole window. 10% of the window wrap may include signs. Window wrap design shall be approved by the design review committee before installation.
Do you want incorporate versus include? It's just similar, does either one?
I don't think incorporate or include really matters as much. My question is the word signs. What does the sign mean?
But
What is
we're defining signs,
okay?
bylaw.
Include signs.
And finding window wrap.
Yep.
Yeah, we got the definition.
We've got all the definitions for signs.
Yeah, scenery, because the bottles on the liquor store are scenery.
All
to
right.
me.
And I don't even know if we have scenery there anymore.
Sign, any words, lettering parts or letters, figures.
It says custom design pattern or
It's-
color.
The sign is defined in number 29.
Okay, how about if we just say signage?
Um,
Because it's
I'm fine. I don't care.
Signage sounds better.
yeah, it's just
I'm an engineer, not
Okay, so I think we're good with the window wraps.
right.
The
So
only thing is the definition still says that it's a custom design pattern or color. So like Mark said, they could do, the window wraps could be a bottle, like on the liquor stores.
Yeah.
all right.
That's a unique example because that used to be a clothing store that had mannequins and stuff, and now they have stuck with all this window space, they probably don't even want.
Right, I think they probably do it to cover the windows, but it'd be better if they had a mountain. But we don't have scenery there.
Coors Light?
That's right, thinking of the Coors Light
Don't
mountain.
drink it if the mountains aren't blue.
But it'd be more clever if they would have put like a beer, what is it, the foam head, and a real close up of the foam head all the way across the window instead of the bottle and all that, because
Looks like the foamy ocean.
Right.
Belgian.
Yeah, Belgium.
Okay, so we're gonna move on, we're good?
did we
All
say
right.
did we say signage, right? Or you didn't care?
Yep, she's putting signage, right?
Can you
Can we go back to 14 and get rid of that?
We're
Delete the neon signs.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. We just jumped ahead because we were doing the window wrap, so I'm slowly gonna still go through this again.
Can I show you guys this? Can you see this on my screen?
Yeah,
That's window wraps.
that's what they have right now.
This is down by Hannaford's. Those are all on the inside of the window.
Those are on the inside.
Yeah, they can see out,
Yeah,
but you can't see in. Unless it's at night with the lights on. So that's what
that's what I think you want to reduce, right, or eliminate.
that's correct.
Yeah,
Because it's really, I mean, yeah, sometimes I think that the labels are beautiful. I think the bottle shapes are beautiful. But after a fashion, you know what's in there.
But you guys aren't gonna approve that. So there you go.
With
But
the
it's already
ring.
there.
Right, I mean, it's grandfathered, but if they were to come in with that wrap, then chances are you wouldn't approve
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
so I think that would be sufficient.
I probably have to catch them first because usually those wraps are installed by the distributors.
Yeah,
The sign, the store employees don't get those.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
store
the
would have to
distributors
pay
come
for the
through and
blackout
notice
the
they go
window,
ahead, do
but
whatever you
the
want.
advertising
Right.
stuff is free.
right,
This is what it looks like at a distance.
right. So I think we're going down the shady road by allowing window wraps?
No, no, I think, I think they have their application and I think they can be amazing because I've seen some that are gorgeous that are just, I took a few of them that were on one big window in Southborough.
All right,
Again,
we gotta keep going because we have to finish this today. Anything we don't get to, we'll just have to go forward. So sorry, I have to keep going.
Lori had something for 14.
Yeah, but I want to start first with C before we get to D. Sign permits, non-conformity and compliance.
Yeah, that was the one that I wanted to C14, because we talked about eliminating beyond.
Oh, I don't think we have a C14. I'm on
Sign
C.
shall be
Right here.
illuminated by
It's in
exposed neon.
No sign shall be illuminated by exposed neon fluorescent tubes
Oh,
or
that's
the
D.
equivalent. Yeah, you're right.
For C first, I just wanted, I think for C number 4, Bob, you mention any new sign bylaw should comply with this bylaw, we were gonna cross it out. So I just wanted to make sure, because it popped back in
It's just redundant because it's already up in
Yeah.
front of the section.
so we can cross it out.
Cross it out.
Are we crossing out all of number 4? We're not making any changes?
The only change we have is new sign, but even that, any correcting of the sign is a new sign, right?
Yeah, I mean, number 4 should stay. And I think all we really would want to take out is what's underlined, any new sign shall comply.
What about the word new in the first sentence?
Relettering of a sign shall be equivalent to the erecting of a new sign, which is fine. Except when the original wording is reproduced.
Okay, so we'll just leave that.
So if it's a damaged sign, if it's faded, and there's no changes to the content. It's like if they change the colors from every green. But that would be considered relettering the sign.
Okay. I was wondering, do we need the 5 non-conforming signs shall not be altered? Because it says in conformity with the bylaw and Mass General Law, Chapter 46, Section 6, are signs even in Chapter 40, Section 6, like, are signs
Are they there?
considered, yeah.
Really?
I don't know, I don't think they are, right? Because isn't it non-conforming uses and buildings and dimensions, but a non-conforming sign isn't really a use.
It's not a use. The only time signs are really protected is if it's like a religious or a political type thing.
So I wonder, I don't know if we should have the end MGL chapter 40, section 6, because
Well, hang on a second, I happen to have the MGL 4876 with me. Carried in my back pocket. Section 6, pre-existing non-conforming use of structures, lots. And 6.
while Bob's looking that up, I think down under basic requirements, not to skip around, I do think we should cross out the neon and just get past the neon.
Agree.
Are you guys okay with that?
I am.
yeah,
All right, so we'll cross that one out. And plastic was crossed out last time.
Is a sign considered a structure in our?
it depends on where it's used.
Yeah, it's what I'm looking at.
Well, he looks that up too. I think number 4, flashy moving and animated signs, we had agreed to that last time. We changed wording.
Yeah, we did.
So we're all set with that.
Yes.
I'm on D4. I'm on the colored one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was, oh, okay.
But I think they're both the same. The other one just
Yeah, but
doesn't
this
have my
one's
colors.
bigger.
Right.
Okay, signs are not a structure. Okay, so,
So wait, do we take off the in Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6?
I think so.
Because it doesn't apply to it.
So are we deleting that entire,
Just that line.
Just that part of it.
okay, so we're keeping non-conforming sign shall not be altered, enlarged, redesigned, or structurally altered, except in conformity with this bylaw.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. What happens with the non-conforming and you want them to put an address on?
What's that?
What happens if they're non-conforming, but they don't have an address? You want them to put an address on?
Like 2 letters or 2 numbers or something?
Well, the
Because
question,
it's, all that's required is the street number, not the street itself. So it could be something as simple as just putting 2 numbers on the end of the sign. Which is a requirement anyway.
right, well, I understand that. I'm just,
So I think if you had a pre-existing non-conforming and I haven't had 2 letters, all it's doing, I would probably say that's gonna be okay. That's not I wouldn't consider that the erection of a new sign.
oh, this is for the erection of a new sign, number 5. I'm just asking because of the way it's worded.
So I think what you're saying, Lisa, if somebody wanted to add their address, would they have to do a whole new sign?
Like sign permit.
And a whole new sign, I would think no, if you're just adding an address.
No, if you're just adding the numbers, it's the sign.
But just one real quick thing on that. There's more of a tendency now to put the street as well as the number because people don't necessarily, like if you stick a number up on a sign, there might not be an understanding of what that is.
Hmm.
There's more desire to see 14, Maple Street.
Right.
Or even 14 Maple or ST or whatever. So that's required. If it's not in there, then they should be made to make the sign over again because it's required. It's part of the fire department's needs.
Well, the requirement is that the sign only needs the numbers of the street. It doesn't need to have the name of the street. And, if you wanted to go that route, you'd have to change that section of the zoning the sign bylaw. But where it says, the addressing of the property.
Okay.
Okay. Like for example, how you get, you can either say the address is number 14, okay? 14 is required. If you have it spelled out that says 14, that's not allowed. Okay, because not everybody can read script or read English or whatever, but they can read the numbers. So, in all of the, both the health, fire, and building codes, the numbers that are supposed to be on houses, and it should be continuous with the signs and agreement with the signs. You just have the number, in terms of a requirement. If they want to do something more than that, that's fine. I don't care. But if you want to make the street name a requirement, we're going to go back and add that in.
Okay, well, maybe we can do it for next year. But I do think it's important because say you were just going to stick a number on the sign, where would you stick it? Like the sign's already been made.
Anywhere you want.
Well,
It doesn't say where.
yeah, but that's, it's harder for, if I'm a fireman and I'm going down the street, I don't, if that number isn't really apparent to me. And what I like about some signs is they put it on the top of the sign. They've got the numbers, which is fabulous because it's the first thing you see. But if it's a sign that's pre-existing and you're sticking a number up, It's not necessarily something that you can see easily. And
Okay.
I think we should probably do something about it next year, but I do think,
Okay,
I would probably also suggest if you want to do that and getting into the nitty gritty of where these numbers go or the design, you add that to the sign design guidelines.
mm,
I say that 3 times fast.
you did it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll think about doing that in the sign design guidelines, that
Some
might be a
street
good
names are
idea,
really long though.
and we'll have to keep moving forward.
Number 20. I thought we agreed that we were not doing that because of projecting signs often go over sidewalks, which are typically within the road right of way.
Okay, I was gonna bring that up because it conflicts with number 16. Because 16 says it can extend over a walkway in excess of 2/3 of the width of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So, and then you have this, in no case shall any sign of part thereof project over property lines or over public way.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Now-
the problem.
if you guys have your book, the reason I put it there is because I'm getting rid of this location section. And I moved it into the D section,
We should
because
get
nobody
rid of
sees it, but if we're getting rid of it here, we have to get rid of it
Yes.
here.
Well, I think 16 is the problem.
Oh, it
Because
makes
it's
sense.
illegal to put any sign or any structure over the property line. Anywhere in the state. So, say you've got downtown business. You get 6 feet. Where is the property line from the old Lowe's Market to the sidewalk? They want a projecting sign up. Now I'm gonna need to have a certified plot plan to show me that the sign is not.
But I don't agree with that, because if it is over the property line,
Mhm.
then it could be town public right of way.
If it's over the property line,
In
it
which
is
case
in the
that's-
right of way.
That
Which
is
not allowed.
okay,
It's not allowed.
but if it's over the sidewalk, so the sidewalk in the
Is-
downtown
Is that the
location
right of way?
is the right of way.
The sidewalk is the right of way?
Yes,
It's
in
illegal to do
most
that.
cases.
You can't do that.
yeah, I agree with Bob.
The building was there before the sidewalk, so it's the sidewalk needs to be leaning over.
There are locations where the building goes right up to the town right of way.
Right.
So
Like
you should
Hudson,
be able
what
to
they
do
do.
a projecting sign over the sidewalk.
Well, then they should,
That's the building owner's problem, because they put the building there. I don't care who built it.
Well,
Well,
yeah, but
no,
downtown
but
we
it was
have the
before-
lanes.
But you can't,
Yeah,
well,
I
the thing
mean,
is, the town right of way is the town right of way. And when they expand it, you know, and if they take land by eminent domain or whatever, okay? Tough. Okay, I don't think you should have anything of private enterprise overhanging anything on a public right of way.
But that's in the downtown locations, that's done all the time.
Well,
That's,
anything
that's
where it's
really,
legal.
I mean, think about Millbury, you've got all, and I know because I did the downtown
Yeah,
project, that the right of way ends at the building.
Right,
You guys
So-
can figure this out offline,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
right.
curious about it, but.
I know.
Like House of Pizza, I mean, all they got is a little bit of a sidewalk,
right,
and that's because the road was widened by the state.
right.
And if they didn't have a projecting sign, nobody
It
would
would
be
have
able
been-
to see the
Right,
business.
Right, they have very little,
Yeah.
in downtown Hudson, it goes over the sidewalk.
roof sign.
Exactly, yeah. So,
But I think you guys.
I mean, that might be the law, but let's take it out of the sign by law, because
Can the sign-
I think probably building inspectors are looking the other way all the time.
All the time.
Because otherwise you have no sign.
Right. Well, the
So
thing
it's
is,
not
that,
really fair.
you know, I can understand what the building inspectors have been, you know, overlooking it all the time, but people are looking at what I do. Okay, and, you know, everybody's gone through such hard work to get things pretty much nailed down. This is something that needs to be figured out.
I agree.
I mean, it's certainly we differing in opinion now, but I just want to see where it's, you know, what do I have to do to enforce this one way or another?
Right. And I-
That's what I always come down to is, I understand the blade signs look great. I mean, I love going down the village, you see the signs, you know, it's a throwback to the old signs in Europe when they used to have a big post.
Mhm.
And they had visual signs because nobody could read,
Yeah.
a shoe for shoemaker, a clock for a clockmaker, or
Here's an example.
exactly.
And why should that be prohibited? I don't believe it should be.
Well,
It's
if
over the
If
sidewalk.
it's.
And as long as it's high enough, it's not gonna interfere with the sidewalk plan.
I mean,
So-
It's not self-talk.
stuff. Let's do some research and see what we can come up with.
So it's legal.
You know,
I think
just-
Safety reasons alone. If something were to happen and that falls onto the sidewalk where somebody's walking, which can happen, how do you prevent that? Do you say, well, if you walk under it, it's at your own risk?
Well, it's 10 feet off the sidewalk, so
Right.
nobody's gonna hit their head.
I was just thinking if they install it improperly and then.
Or if it gets blown out,
Yeah.
it falls away.
Yeah, the side falls and it's,
A big
So
snow,
the inspector is enforcing that.
well,
Yep.
you
My
know,
question is, who pays for the injuries?
that's right. It's a liability.
And they got insurance.
Do they have to get an easement? Well, it'll be the town, right? Because it's on this town
Well, that's the
sidewalk.
question.
That's the question.
Is it the
The town.
property owner
Right.
has it, or because it's technically on airspace of public property? Is the town involved? I don't know.
So for both 16 and 20, is it 16 or 14?
16 and 20.
Yep,
So
16.
16 and 20, maybe you and Lori and Bob have a discussion offline.
Yeah.
And can you just email us the result? Because I don't think we'll have time again to meet before the planning board, but we should have the decision. And before it gets to the planning board, unless you guys want to meet one more time to hear the end
No,
result.
I'm so busy.
that was quick.
The law is, how about if we send the scenario to council and see what they would say? Would you be okay with that?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay,
I think the wording of 21 is different than what we discussed last time.
Yes, it is. Yeah, because we were at 10% last time. I did the illustration.
oh, I just put it out,
So,
25% is
Yeah,
up.
we have to decide on that number, right?
Yes,
Excuse me.
I like the 10.
But also the wording can cover, that means it could cover 100% of each side of the canopy.
Yeah, it's just like up
Whereas-
to,
We had signs on fuel canopy shall not exceed 10% of the surface area of each side of the fuel canopy. It shall only contain the logo, name of business, or address. So if you want to up that to 25%, that's fine, but I think we should stick with this wording.
yeah, I didn't see that wording, so I just threw something in there so I wouldn't forget. That's why I highlighted it in yellow.
I like that wording and I like 10%.
All right, so you like the wording that Lori has? And 10%, what do you guys think about 10%?
Your other stuff is all 10%. And if you look at,
You can say, give your comments.
oh, I'd say I'm around the 25%. So.
I,
But I can say I worked in the industry that was involved with NASCAR, so they covered everything in logos and stuff.
I am fine with either 20 or 25%.
Can I see the picture?
because if you look at Cumberland Farms, theirs looks nice. What's theirs, Mark? Is Cumberland Farms?
25%, I think. Cause
Is
I
it?
looked, I took pictures of the side I just eyeballed it. But if I took it and put it in fourths, it was a quarter of the sign. Might have even been a third.
Well, it's
That's the easiest to do it, figure you could fit 4 signs there, it's 25%.
right, but
And
that's
the shape is, because they've got a taller logo, it's smaller.
Right.
font.
right.
How about
so-
20%?
well,
Cause 10% might be really small, so then they might put on all sorts of details to make it pop.
Yeah,
Instead, I don't know.
20% is a good
Yeah,
compromise,
yeah,
I'd say.
that's-
All right, 20% sold American. Let's move.
All right,
Okay,
Lori's wording.
Well, you really are restricted more by the height of the edge. So if you said 10%, what would stop them from doubling the height of the canopy edge? You know, so,
to make it big.
Put in
Yeah.
that you can expand it over the surface. Like a billboard.
Back to 15, it's awning signs. I wanted to figure out if we decided, is it on the awning only or on the whole?
I don't think they should be limited to just the skirt.
yeah, you know, the neighborhood tavern,
Yep.
because that's such a steep canopy, I mean, it looks good. If it were shallow, it would start to get distorted and look odd, but that's their call.
Plus also there are plenty of awnings that don't have skirts. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we had that before we went to the planning board, that was decision.
Yeah.
That was our decision.
And then the only thing, it should have the street number if the canopy is like retractable and covers the street number. I mean,
Yes.
But we say that anyway, so, don't we?
Yeah, we say and or address.
Okay, so the awning's all set.
So is that mentioned that street number's on there or is that somewhere else?
Yep,
It
it
says
says
address.
name of the establishment, business logo and or address.
Okay.
Okay, so the blade sign is the next one. There was some discussion about the height. Are we at 10 feet from the bottom? I think Lori said we had to do that because of the plow.
Mhm.
Okay, window wraps are 10%.
Yeah, it's the only thing I know, so it's like 10, has to be 10 feet high, where the freestanding signs can only be 10. But they're closer to the street, so I guess I can.
Well, the other one isn't on top of the sidewalk either.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, number 19, I put that out of downtown business district. So in the downtown business district below, where it's on G, we called out the sandwich sign every single section. So I thought, like some of the others, instead of calling out in every single section, can't we just have 19 in the business district, one sandwich board sign not to exceed 15 square feet?
That's fine.
So it's once versus 10 times?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and we got through 20 and 21. Construction and maintenance is the next section. That number 3, I pulled up from the location section, because if we're getting rid of the location section, we said we might cross out, and that's page 115 in the book. If it might be easier to follow that way. 115 in the book had 3 sections under location. And I tried to pick them out and put them somewhere else. I think the first one, A, we said we crossed out about the airspace. And then B talks about no roof signs, and no one ever knew where that was.
The only thing I'm kind of hesitant about is that it looks like we're making more changes.
I know.
We're not.
I know.
But maybe it wouldn't be beneficial to make that change from a perception standpoint.
And that's fine. If we leave it there, then I wanted to up in number D, where we talked about roof signs. D3, no signs shall be part or attached to the roof. I called out the section where the location, but instead of E3, it will be, call out the location section, so we know where it was.
Yeah.
And it's, if it stays in location, it will be what? G2B? Yeah, G2B. I just,
When you're presenting it as well, say that this is just a housekeeping. This is housekeeping. It's not changing anything. We're just
right,
location, and say that so it's understood that this is just changing location, not the laws.
no matter what it is at town meeting when it signs, doesn't matter, right?
Well-
Okay, so. Oh, I'll try. So 3, D3, we're done. Construction and maintenance, number 3, we won't move it. I'm gonna cross that out. And now we're down to the signs in the business districts.
Hold on. Are you taking it out?
Well, no, we're leaving it where it is. So, construction and maintenance of signs, I was moving that 3 from the location section because I was getting rid of the location section. And Lori says it's easy just to leave the location section in. And then under D3, I'll point to the location section, just so it stands out where it is. It might be confusing the way I'm saying it, but we're leaving it. It's just what section it's in.
It takes a while to find the number you're just saying, so on D3, it's back here, okay?
Yeah, and I'm on this D3 on our page.
Now I lost it again. But it says that the blade sign can go no more than 12 inches.
No, it's the wall
Okay.
sign can project no further than
Okay.
12 inches
Okay.
beyond the edge of the door.
And that's something we already have. I was just moving the
Yeah.
location of it, but does it make sense what we have? Because there are a couple things that we already have that we've changed.
So my suggestion for rewording number one under signs and business districts. Why don't we say each business establishment shall be allowed a directory and window signs and 2 signs from the following list.
We've added a sign then. I thought it was 3 at the most.
Well, directories are given to everybody, always. Everybody can have a directory and a window, and then we were doing 2.
So that, because the way it's worded, I think is kind of confusing, where it says plus a directory and a window sign. So everybody is able to get a directory and window signs.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say window signs,
If you have.
because there may be multiple.
And I think we have to add freeze to this list, right? Because last night it popped in my mind that we defined freeze, but we didn't put it.
Well, freeze is part of the law.
You know,
I don't think we have that
Well,
in
we
the
have it,
definition.
it came up because of what he calls stuff over the sidewalk down by Rockies. We call that a freeze.
Yeah,
and then we say including such a sign affixed to a parapet or freeze.
Yeah.
So it's in the definition for wall sign.
yeah.
Okay, so I don't add it there. All right, I just wanted to make sure it was somewhere. So the next, I think that makes sense. And then we cross out there shall be no more of the following on each lot, because then that doesn't make sense. So then we go downtown business, it talks about freestanding. And we added location by street number. And I think Bob, you had questioned that because it's already required somewhere.
It's already required.
Always looking. We have for industrial district, we limit it to 200 square feet of total signage. But we don't have that in the highway business district. We just say each type of sign.
Yeah, because industrial is separate district, like highway is included under a business district. But actually the industrial, highway changed last year. And it's not in this book yet. Highway business south was added.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like spelling out the total of all signs combined.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think we should do that in more places.
industrial is different than our, so.
I agree with Mark.
So Mark's on page 115 in the book. And it says the total area of all signs shall not exceed 200 square feet. And he thought that was a good thing to have, and maybe each section should have the total.
Yeah, but then you get to the problem where the bigger the building,
Right.
the less percentage that is. So
I have the street number.
Okay.
Under D, basic requirements, number 10. I'll read it to you. The location by street number for all non-residential structures shall be included on the freestanding sign. A portion of the area used for the street address shall not exceed 15% of the allowed square footage and shall not affect the calculation of the allowed sign square footage. So
Okay.
if you've got a pretty sign and you want to put the number on it, or you have to put the number on it, it's not counted towards the allowed signage area. But the biggest it can be is 15% of the allowed square footage sign area.
So then we don't have to add it under here again,
I already have it.
so we can delete that.
So are we now saying the freestanding sign shall indicate the name of the tenants
Which is
in a
what,
fixed manner?
Isn't that a directory sign?
So we're getting rid of and location by street number of the facility?
right, which is what is back to original.
Directory signs are allowed without a permit.
But
You
I-
know,
But is it when you have more than one tenant,
Yeah,
you're supposed to have a directory sign?
well, I mean, the directory signs are the little short ones at the driveway that tell you where to go. Okay, like there was a place, I think it's 411 West Main, where Tomiolo's restaurant is. Okay, around the back to the right, there was a little business on there. And we allowed them to do directory signs so that people knew that they had to go around the building to get to it. Okay, those were allowed without a permit. But correct me if I'm wrong, the directory sign you might be referring to is when you have like a big monument sign out front with multiple tenants in it. That's not a directory sign.
Oh, okay.
I would count that as just a standard business sign that's out front, you know, that lists the names of the tenants. You
So
know, but
just-
the directory signs are just
Lori.
pointing you which way to go.
I'm trying to, you know, real language.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Lower, yeah.
Beat that,
Okay.
I'd add that,
So we'll just leave it back to the original.
except we're adding,
Yeah.
filling stations.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So the next part of all these businesses is we went to, the wall sign shall not exceed 10% of the wall size or 32 square feet, whichever is smaller. And we had talked about that last year because we did that. We did that up in Northbrook Crossing where it was like 250 feet or 10%. And I went through a whole thing with Sierra and how much 10% was. And their sign, as big as it is still below 10% of their facade.
Yeah.
So I think downtown,
Glass.
yeah. So downtown, if there's a small, sometimes they break them apart, so like say the place next to Richdale is smaller, their sign would be either 32 square feet or 10% of the wall size. And even 10% of the wall size, I did a couple of the calculations, it's still pretty big.
You know, just a hypothetical.
Sure.
You've got, take that building, for example, you've got a big tenant and a small tenant.
Yeah,
The amount of window signs
yeah,
is 10%
oh, the wall,
of the entire wall. Who gets the 10%?
but I thought we broke it down by
Or is it
unit.
separate tenant
By window.
by window?
We broke it down
No,
by
it
unit.
says 10%
unit.
of the window area on that wall,
Okay.
is what we said.
All right.
But I thought we also said per unit, like per tenant, like so if they have this big building. If they have this much of the building, then they get 10% of it, and then the other side would get 10%. But hopefully it says that in here, we should check that.
Typically, I mean, to be fair, if you've got a big tenant and a small tenant, it's 10% of this window size. And it's 10% of this window size.
Right. I think
It
it's,
says all combined window signage shall be limited to 10% of the total glass area on any one facade side of the building.
but should we make it
We already approved that last year.
Yeah.
for
Let's put
downtown,
that again.
or for the window?
No, that's, in all business districts.
Is there anywhere we can add per unit that doesn't throw everything off?
Well, that would change it per unit.
Well, let's say that's like a rich
Per
deal.
tenant,
If
No.
Rich Dale's is using the 10%, Taz is when hitting.
right,
That's not
and
bad.
we don't want that to happen.
I think we're already saying that though, because we're saying each business establishment shall be allowed directory and window signs. We just changed that, and 2 signs from the following list.
As long as it covers it, should be tenant, yeah.
How about up to instead of and to? Because, okay, say Taz is an example, how much space do they have for their signage?
Depends on how big their building is, they would get 10% or 32 square feet.
Right.
Of the size of their unit.
That's in total. Right?
Well, not from the total wall, there's, I would think there's a section of the wall and then
Yeah.
Richdale gets
Yeah,
theirs.
they're the amount that they rent,
Yeah,
space that they rent, that front facade.
Right, so they would get, I mean, they would have the opportunity. So one of the things that I was thinking about is, and I'll use Brittany's as an example, is you're going by the Brittany's Mall there. There's now 3 or 4 freestanding signs.
Hmm.
They all look different, they're all different sizes. So,
All here before I showed up.
they're already out there. But
Well-
really, when they build the building, it should have been
Should have been one.
one sign for the group, because that's what our bylaws say. But if they're already all there.
well, that's what I'm saying.
Something cover in the design guideline.
Yeah, that's what you don't want to have happen again, is that covered in the use bylaws.
Okay, we should definitely add that to the design guidelines too, Lori mentioned,
But I don't think we could really,
enforce it.
enforce that in the sign bylaw.
Well, I think you have it already in the signed bylaw that, primarily one is allowed. If you want a second one, it has to meet a certain set of circumstances, has to be a certain distance away, and other things. I know it's in
It is.
in the signed bylaw, but it basically says you can have one, but if you want a second one, there's a whole list of things you gotta do.
Because I mean,
So-
most of it's because it's a one landlord, right? They didn't buy each one of those little units in that mall, right?
Yeah.
That's one landlord.
I mean, Rockies is the same way, the Rockies Plaza, they've got, I don't know, 3 or 4 signs up front, freestanding signs for different whatever, and I think they have 2 that I would call legit current bylaws.
They did have that monument sign.
Yeah.
And they only have 8, and they've got 12, or they've got more.
Yeah.
than
We'll
that.
have to keep moving forward. It is included in the bylaw right now. But if they ever change, it's not conforming, they'll have to go away, I would think.
Yeah.
So if one of those places up there goes away, then that sign should go away, and that will help bring it back into conformity.
For example, for the, not that Danielle's, what's it?
Brittany's?
Thank you. So many names, sorry.
Mhm.
If Brittany's were to come to me, or any of those people were to come to me and say, I wanna put up a new sign or change one out, I would say, I'd probably step out of bounds a little bit, saying, all of them have to come down, you need one freestanding sign, you can put multiple plates in it, up to 10, okay,
Yep.
with the address, and clean it up. Okay, I would probably attempt to do that, even though it might be a little bit outside my scope. But I would, just clean it up, because, yeah, you're right, 3 signs, and they're big,
Yeah,
and
and the conformity is, then you put the piece on the window or something. So you have one, and then you can define who's what, but.
yeah,
Okay,
right.
so as we move down. We have directory sign 1, directory projecting blade sign 1, and then sandwich board I pulled out, so we don't have to do it a million times. And awnings is also out, and it's not in here because it's up under D. So, I mean, is that it? We'll pull out location and street number and all the sections there. All these are the same. So in the next part, I had location, because I was moving B, but we're not moving that anymore. So that's not, so the whole location part, I think originally we said. Are we pulling out location section A still? So location A still has to be included in this because we're pulling it out. And now are we keeping B and C? Maybe not C, depending on,
Well, we're
What you would-
keeping B,
yep, we're keeping B.
but yeah. Well, we're possibly taking away C.
I think if we do take away A and C, we should move B. And just say, like Lisa said, it's a housekeeping, move B under construction and maintenance, because. Do we need one little bullet under a section? So if you guys move. And that just clears up that section.
So we move,
B, I was moving under construction and maintenance. It would be a number 3 now. I don't know if that fits under construction and maintenance, if you read D, Bob. It talks about projecting 12 inches or whatever.
That's in the case of a wall sign parallel to the wall. I'm not sure what,
Where would that fit in the bylaws?
well, I'm questioning the sign shall not project more than 12 inches.
Yeah, that's kind of deep, isn't it?
It's thick or 12 inches overhanging.
This is what's in there right now.
I'm just trying to picture a situation where is a sign shall not project. Probably projecting out from the wall.
I would.
Right, like a box sign, it could only be 12
Okay.
inches thick.
Right, normally 8 inches.
So what's a box sign? Okay, just for information, a blade sign, because it's not a wall sign, is allowed to stick out more than 12 inches, but a box sign or channel letters or
Yeah.
something like that is what the 12 inches is referring to.
Yeah.
Where are
And
you?
it's probably not even, that's back to the first and light days.
Location, parentheses B.
All right, so just to tie that in, and I agree with you, you're gonna have to separate the districts then, because again, up at the crossing, 12 inches is probably nothing, because they're up high. And you know, again, as it grows in size, it's gotta have the depth to hold it. Maybe that.
Well, it's, a lot of times the signs up up at the top of the hill, basically they're channel letter signs. And each letter is individually bolted to, and with the way the technology is, they're all LED backlit, okay? So you don't have to have those thick metal cabinets like we have in other places in town. So the thickness of the letters, the signs themselves are actually getting thinner. You know, just barely enough to get the electrician's fingers in there to make the connection.
Yeah, like TVs.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's why I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you. I think 12 of, you know, foot, 12 inches for
Yeah.
that sign should be brought more narrow, but maybe by district.
I'm fine with leaving it at 12. I just wanted to make sure I understood what that.
Why are we deleting
Let's go.
A, from the location? Is it because it's redundant somewhere else?
Well, it says I moved it to D9. But then did we decide, last meeting, we
Oh,
had a
yeah,
big
I see.
discussion about airspace. So we ended up, I thought, taking the whole thing out.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I just was curious as to why we were deleting.
As long as you guys agree, Bob
You're
and,
taking 8 out, right?
yeah. Well, didn't we have that discussion last meeting?
Well, I think, again, it gets into airspace and it gets into the discussion Lori and I are having about, you know, can a sign be on somebody else's property or over the line?
Well, can it be in the buffer zone too? I mean, isn't that-
A sign is not required to be within any required setback. Okay, so if you've got a monument sign or a freestanding sign and you want to put it 5 feet to the road, you can do that. There's no like front yard setback like you have for buildings or other types of structures. And that's all over the place, you know, town.
Yeah, I was thinking more between the property lines between two adjacent buildings. Now we have the 15-foot do not disturb zones, right? We came up with the fire department, that's the only reason.
Well, that has to do with conservation.
So do not disturb
Yeah.
doesn't exclude a sign. You could put a sign.
Well, if it's a conservation requirement, they'd have to go to conservation. I mean, you know, if do not disturb, do not build, they're gonna hold fast, they're gonna hold hard and fast to that. So the buffer zones, you know, they've always been able to make an accommodation and maybe change the design of the sign where instead of it digging up and pouring concrete, they put in the techno metal posts or the helical coils. The conservation department loves those because there's no spoils to take care of. And there's very, very little runoff. You drill these things in the ground and you're done. So, you know, they may offer accommodations for that in a wetland area or buffer zone. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't allow it if it's in a 25 or 35-foot no touching.
Okay, so definitively, are we eliminating the location section or are we not?
Well, right now, I think if we are eliminating A and eliminating possibly C, then I think B needs to find a new home. Unless it's up to you, Bob, like, do you feel that B should be in a section called location? Or do you think it can fit in another section, like under construction and maintenance? I just felt to have one section with just one bullet.
I probably would not have it as a bullet. I'd just say location and then put, so it'd be location period and then the paragraph.
Yeah. Does it
Concise
fit under
sentences.
location? It's talking about 12 inches, like, is that even a location?
I think 12 inches is like a dimensional requirement that applies to all wall signs, right?
So that would more be under construction, right? In
Yeah.
there. So I think it even fits better under construction than location. Because location was talking about airspace, which, or over public
Yeah.
ways. It doesn't even seem like B should be under location.
I'm gonna scratch this off and say,
So if you put B under construction and maintenance, it would become number 3. And then we do have to update, Lori, then we have to update D3. That talks about roofs.
Yeah.
Point to that one, E3. If you update it all, I can check it, but I think I have it too. It would become D3. Will have a little parentheses pointing to E3, which is what I had on my little printout. Okay. So I think we're through the sign bylaws pretty good.
yeah, I'll just have to run to my desk and incorporate them.
We all forgot. All right, and I think, I don't know if you guys want to go through, I didn't really focus on the design guidelines. Do you want to try them? It's already 10:30.
I think we're pretty much done, right?
No, I went back to my email. We left off on landscape and we didn't finish the sign and the awnings yet.
Well, Dave was supposed to get back to us with something on landscaping and I haven't received anything.
Yeah, and it was just one line. It was about the rocks. And we were thinking that maybe rocks and mulch are on a case by case basis, right? Like rocks do it, you have to have 18 inches. But
Yeah.
then for what the people put in their garden areas, maybe that's a case by case. Some people might want one
Yeah,
little.
see, I want to put rocks in the pool, not mulch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we just write it 4 Dave.
Yeah, but commercial buildings, you know, they need 18 inches, otherwise everything has to be on. You know, they don't have that requirement for private homes yet. You know, although we've lost 2 homes in town because of it.
Right?
We have, you know, mulch fires goes up the side of the house. The vinyl siding covered in the old dry cottonwood shingles. They had lead paint on it. And it just literally took the house. That was all against it. And we discovered that the owner had a secret second family. And the FBI came to
Oh, wow.
look at it. And the FBI asked me to help them arrange an on-site meeting.
Oh my
Just
God.
he and I to go over some of the parameters about fixing it. It's done. And so I made the arrangement. And the FBI said, just don't show up. We'll be there waiting for him.
All because of mulch.
All
See if
because
they
mulch,
done rocks.
all because mulch, yeah. The mystery of the burning mulch.
I think the notes I have is that, and I think I already incorporated it. Stone up to 18 inches from the foundation and landscape stones are not recommended. So I don't think we said that they couldn't use them. And then I had.
Well, I wouldn't even say they're not recommended, because there are certain cases where you would recommend.
The only thing that the building code says is non-combustible. So if you want pavement, if you want concrete, if you want pavers, if you want river rock.
Yeah. Say, I would use river rock if I was trying to hide a drainage ditch or something.
I think we do it on a case by case basis. They'll come in for
Yes, yeah, I'd say I wouldn't recommend either way, except for where it's covered.
Okay, so now you want me to delete that sentence that says landscape stones are not recommended?
Well, you've got the size too that you're not even asking about, right? So what's the size of a landscape stone? There's like,
Right, yeah, it does get complicated, because you got crust stone, you got river stone.
Yeah, rip wrap stuff,
Yeah.
base.
And now because of the CO2 things, crushed granite is different from all the other crushed stones and.
right, so there's an awful lot of stone stuff that you'd probably wanna either put a definition in or.
Let Dave write a user's guide to crushed stone.
I like-
Case by
Personally,
case
I think that the River Rock stone that they have over by, I can't, Applebee's,
Yeah, it's not Applebee's anymore though.
that, personally, I like it.
But
I think
that's
It
probably
looks
great, it's still,
attractive.
It's,
It looks like a river.
yeah.
That's
I
a big,
think-
that's a
I mean-
big, I mean, you've got to decide where it's going to be, right? Which were the business districts? Is this is business, right? Or just in general? Is it for homes?
This was landscaping in general.
I think we should leave all the pictures and just leave it to a case by case basis, because I don't. I think it's hard to pinpoint it to one or the other.
Do the guidelines have to go to the planning board for approval or?
Yes,
or is-
they should. It's I mean, this is my opinion. The planning board and the ZBA are the enforcement authority.
Right.
So personally, I think that they should ultimately approve them or not. And there should be a public hearing. That's what I would recommend. I mean, those are a big deal,
yeah, you never know what you didn't think of, so.
right?
If that's the case, how hard would it be to, after the fact, change out one photograph, you're gonna have to go back and put it in?
No,
We just to change out one.
if it came out of the public hearing that we had to change them out, I think we would just change them out, right?
Yeah. I don't know, 'cause that's a
Yeah,
mechanical.
leave that to your discretion, maybe.
Yeah. Because we can update it at any time.
Well, I was gonna do the two versions. I was gonna do the text only, so everybody could see where the text changed. And then I was gonna do a sample layout so that they could see, you know, what the text looked like with the pictures.
You know, we're going to use the new design that we liked.
Yes, yep,
I think maybe it's far enough along that you could finish it and send it out, we can all review it. Because I did have it leave off that we weren't 100% done with signs and awnings, because we were still trying to decide if we're allowing awning signs and.
right.
But now I think we're far enough along that,
And then we gotta double check against the checklist too,
yeah,
it's complicated.
yeah, so maybe if you get it and then we'll.
Yeah, I can work on that.
Heavy snow for at least the next 60 minutes.
So I think we're all set, I think we're wrapped up, and I think hopefully at our next meeting, we could say, you know. The design guidelines are done and the checklist, we can make
Yeah.
it match and wrap it all up.
I wonder if we should hold off on the checklist until. Because some things are gonna change at town meeting, hopefully. And then we just update it with the changes that are approved for the design guidelines, cause I hate to. Get the checklist perfect and then during the public hearing, they're like, oh, well, we wanna change this and this, and then we gotta change the checklist again. Why don't we just do the checklist?
Well, the checklist doesn't officially exist yet, right?
Because normally, like the checklists I do for the planning board, you guys don't approve those. I just do those based on the regulations that exist, and then it's mostly for the applicants and me to use anyway, although I'm sure you guys use it as well. But it's just, this is what it is. So you guys don't have to approve it because the regulations are, it just reflects what the regulations are that exist.
But I think the checklist will be something we can use as a design review committee and the applicant can use and you.
Yeah,
can
the
use.
applicant, I think was the big one, we wanna get that to them so that they can know where they're gonna.
So everybody's on the
prevent them
same
from getting
page.
Blindsided.
But I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think that the planning board and the ZBA have to approve the checklist. That would just be.
No, that's a design
internal
review thing.
here.
Why is the ZBA approving things? It's the planning board. The
No,
ZBA
because the ZBA is the permitting authority
for,
for many applications. They are the site plan approval authority. So they have just as much power as the planning board to approve development.
we're giving them, they're appointed, they're not elected. They're not as
It
much.
doesn't matter. The town has specified them as the permitting authority for at least 50% of the commercial industrial development occurring.
It's what they did in 2009, they broke down who got
That's
the,
what it-
basically who took the special permits and who took. And it can be changed in the bylaws, who's in charge of what, but. That's what they did in 2009 is they went through and they picked, oh, planning board's industrial and housing and ZBA is all the business districts, pretty much.
And it says that if they're the special permit granting authority, then they are the authority for site plan approval.
But it says the planning board should do a technical review. So I still think the planning board is supposed to look at all the site plans and then give their recommendations. Because
Yeah.
we are the ones who, I know what I was gonna say. I mean, they can go to the classes too, but it falls under our purview for a lot of like master plan things and all these plans. I don't know if they get as deeply involved,
Well,
but
good question. So what close it up. So
yes,
I like Mark's checklist, and I think that it's important to have that.
yeah,
My question is that Lori had said, I go down the checklist and I look at the stuff, but what happens on the ones that are case by case basis? How do you notify the applicant or whatever? I mean, how does that go together?
well, they'd have to come in front of us. We're talking about mulch versus rock was a case by case basis, so I guess if they brought it through. If it first went to Bob and Lori, they might say, oh, there's a ton of rock there, that's not gonna fly. But they might be able to tell, or they might say, bring it to design, I'm speaking for them and I shouldn't be, bring it to design review and see what they think. I don't know,
Just saying, how do you write it in there? Do you put it part of a checklist? Do you make it a note that on those items that are chosen by case?
Well, you just told me to delete that sentence, so now it's not gonna say anything about stone, other than you have to put stone up to 18 inches from the foundation.
and in the past, it was up to like the person, they would bring forth their design, it would either have stone or mulch.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we have to call it out anywhere?
I wouldn't even mention it. That's me.
Well, we call it, when we did, 442 West Main. That was a commercial building. It's, a hairstylist place.
Yep,
At the corner of the Crawford.
Yeah.
He wanted to put in vegetation everywhere.
mhm.
He said, no, you gotta do stone for the first 18 inches. You know, we caught that early on. What did he install? He installed mulch.
Well, because it changed at the planning board, because Michelle was on the, not
And
you,
I
Michelle.
told him, I said, you gotta change that if you want an occupancy, so I want stone. Otherwise, you're not moving in. Again, it's a building code thing.
Right.
Well, I know on that West Main Street, so of course we were all after him to complete his landscaping. And then in some areas he had put stone because there were some grading issues, so it looked attractive, it was a combo of the mulch and the stone. The stone was gonna stay in place more readily than the mulch was, so we just approved it.
I just remember the last meeting when they tried to get rid of the design review, that mulch and stone was one of the big examples that they go back and forth on.
I don't understand why that's even a big thing. We're just noting it. I mean, my bigger concern is when you have so much rock, like you have over at what we call 7 Monument Place, there's nothing there but rock. How is that good for the environment or for the safety of the firemen if they have to go up to the building with ladders?
I think it would, from us, right, that was approved, the riprap, that's the Monument Place riprap. But that is even an illegal slope, so.
Yeah, I'd say that's more
Seven
retaining.
Monument, is that 89 West Main?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
That's the one that they didn't finish.
They didn't finish.
They haven't done occupancy.
Right. Supposedly they have an agreement with us, but I haven't seen them do much out there.
Yeah, isn't there like a time limit on that or no?
mhm.
The
The
10
permit have a time limit, and even then, what do? Go to court if they don't meet the time limit?
Right, they're not putting businesses in there. so-
Right,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, unless you have a performance bond that we can access, I don't think there's much, the town can't do about it. You know?
but they have nothing in the down, in the
Right,
first
but they're
floor.
making their money on that.
No.
Yeah,
I told
so
them
they
not
don't
to
have
get a
to.
permit for anything in the first floor until all of the site work has been approved.
All right, we good to go?
I think we're good to go.
Can I just ask, on the agenda, it said, a possible letter regarding the bylaws?
I don't think we'll need
Letter
it though.
from
I
the
was thinking
planning board?
originally that we'd have a letter from the design review saying that, you know, we've gone through and approved these sign guidelines. Do you guys want to write the letter? Or do you think I'd just bring it forward to the planning board?
I think between the two of us, they probably trust that when we say design review bless this,
At this point, we've had to bump it too, so they know we're working on it. So I think the letter we don't need.
Thanks, Michelle, for asking that question too.
That's a sheet of black.
All right,
Okay,
All right.
hope you feel better, Lisa.
you wanna make a motion to adjourn?
Yep,
Are we skipping the minutes?
we're gonna skip the
Yeah,
minutes.
Cause they're.
We're gonna add to them, and plus we didn't have a lot of time and I'm gonna add a little something to the minutes, so we'll review those for next time.
Okay, want me to make a motion?
Sure.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
So second. I don't think we need to take a roll call vote because we're here.
No, you really are. When it's a Zoom, you're supposed to do.
Oh, okay, Mark McMenamy?
What am I doing? Voting?
Yeah.
One time.
Lisa Maselli?
I
Congratulations, everybody, I think we're done now.
All right.
All right, bye.
It's recording.